Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
Zomba Malosa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving people of Zomba Malosa a chance on a point of order. You know, Right Honorable Speaker, I come from the Eastern region, which consists in Cheo, Machinga, Mangochi, Zomba. Right Honorable Speaker, our friends from the other side, on seat number 11, there was an honorable member, a veteran member, not somebody that has just joined this 2025. That member has been moved to 102. And this member is coming from the Eastern region. Mangochi, something. And that is just to say that these people here, this MCP, they hate Eastern region people. This seat is the only seat they have in the Eastern region. And they have moved that member back to 102 seat. Right Honorable Speaker, we people from the Eastern region, we seek justice. It's not right. Why move a member from Salima to 102? Actually, I hear that even where they have put him, there's no microphone. He doesn't have a gadget. There's no gadget where they have put him. So, really, I'm really standing with that honorable member from Mangochi. He's the only one that stood on, who stood so strong and stood on MCP ticket. Mangochi Monkey Bay. People of Mangochi Monkey Bay, please help us, Right Honorable Speaker. We want to represent Malawians, but not on those back seats. It's the only seat that MCP has in Eastern region, and they have pushed it back. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Let's proceed. I think that's an internal issue. We proceed. Yes, Whip.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Good afternoon. I would like to clarify here that this is our family as Malawi Congress Party. And when they're doing their changes of seats that side, it doesn't concern us. And the honorable member here doesn't have any problems to be moved to wherever seat. So I don't understand why somebody else should have problems, yet the honorable member does not have any problems with that. Thank you.
Minister of Local Government. Yes, Minister of Local Government.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. This is a house of records. What has happened with the honorable member happened not long time ago when the honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs moved to the other side. Has it a point of order was induced from that side to establish the reasons why. And in their justification, they said this was a seasoned politician. In her justification, she says, this is the lone member from the Eastern region. Can we have a justification? Equal to equal. I therefore think that it is just right and proper for the people of Mangochi to seek justice. Why has their member been taken from a point of a microphone to a point of no microphone right in the Biafra? Right Honorable Speaker, I remember very well that one of our members, when we were sitting that side, because there it's up fire, down fire, Chigumu. Pamwamba moto pasi moto. Kumene kuti. Right, Honorable Speaker, when we were there, Honorable Namalomba was moved to there. And a court injunction came. Are you waiting for court injunction? You? I submit.
Yes, Leader. Leader, today being a private member, I wanted them to enjoy themselves. And I'm sure we've had a good day today. Guide us, Leader.
I do appreciate, Mr. Speaker, sir, that you at some point require to entertain such. It makes the House a bit live, isn't it?
Order.
So we do enjoy such exchanges. They make the House a lot more vibrant. But like I did guide earlier, Mr. Speaker, I thought we need to clean up this paper so that we would lessen this business on our paper. And therefore, if we could dispose of the business as highlighted earlier, I submit, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honourable members, we go back to questions, understanding order 69. And we move to question 5, coming from again Lilongwe Sinja South. Three and 6.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I think there's a bit of a confusion. All I was communicating was that when we come back from a health break, we go back to general business and we tackle general business item B, presentation of committee reports. That was my guidance. Because this one is on the supplementary order paper.
Yes, Leader. So you'll have to move a motion so that we move out of, so that we go to supplementary order paper. Yes, you have the floor.
Right, Honourable Speaker, today, being a private member's day, we would like to move to a supplementary order paper so that we can handle committee reports. I beg to move. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, we have a motion to vary today's order paper so that we tackle business in the supplementary order paper, mainly committee reports. Those of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary view say no. The ayes have it and the motion is carried.
Supplementary order paper, general business, item B, presentation of committee reports. Roman numeral 2, report of the Parliamentary Health Committee's activities held within the first quarter of the 2026-2027 financial year.
Chairperson. Chair, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to present the paper standing in my name under item 2B, Roman numeral 2.
Thank you, Chair. Sergeant at Arms. Thank you. Honorable Chairperson, do you wish to speak to the report?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Please proceed.
The deaths of our fathers, uncles, sons, and nephews, Mr. Speaker, sir, are not isolated tragedies. They are symptoms of a healthcare system struggling under the weight of an outdated legal framework. At the heart of these weaknesses lies a law enacted in 1948, a Public Health Act. This is why your committee engaged different stakeholders and civil society organizations on the reform of the 1948 Public Health Act and conducted an inquiry into state of corruption in health facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, Malawi continues to operate under the Public Health Act of 1948, a statute that predates our 1994 Constitution and is gravely outdated. This act was conceived in a different era when the health challenges of our nation were limited to infectious diseases and basic sanitation. It was a law designed for a colonial administration, not for a modern democracy. Today, it fails to respond to the realities of contemporary public health. Mr. Speaker, sir, non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, cancers, and cardiovascular diseases, which now account for a growing burden of illness in our communities, are rising sharply. Yet this 1948 law provides no framework for prevention, treatment, or financing of these conditions. The law is silent on mental health, despite the increasing prevalence of depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. And the principal Public Health Act itself remains silent on this critical area, leaving gaps in integration and enforcement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Act lacks clear provisions for emergency preparedness. It does not provide for coordinated responses during pandemics, such as cholera outbreaks or climate-induced disasters. COVID-19 exposed these weaknesses brutally. Without legal backing, our institutions struggled to mobilize resources, enforce preventive measures, and protect citizens. Mr. Speaker, sir, did you hear about Tadala's story? Well, her story is shocking and devastating. During COVID-19, Tadala sacrificed everything to save the lives of the growing number of COVID-19 patients. Day after day, she stood on the front lines, risking her own health to care for others. But when the virus claimed her life, the very system she had faithfully saved offered little or no protection to her family. These are glaring realities of an archaic Public Health Act. The Act fails to safeguard frontline health workers, provide no legal guarantees for occupational safety, psychological support, or protection during crises. During COVID-19, our health workers faced immense risks without adequate legal backing. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, many frontline workers worked without protective equipment, without insurance, and without psychological support. The law offered them no shield. Tadala's parents are vulnerable. Perhaps, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now time to accept that the Act was designed for a vastly different era, one in which paper records, face-to-face consultations, and conventional disease surveillance defined health care. More than 7 decades later, the health sector has undergone a digital transformation, embracing electronic medical records, telemedicine, artificial intelligence, and data-driven decision-making. Yet the law has struggled to keep pace. It provides limited guidance on digital health services, patient data privacy, cybersecurity, and the governance of emerging health technologies. Honourable members, without legal safeguards, patient data is vulnerable to misuse, breaches, and exploitation. The law that does not place citizens at its heart is a monster waiting to devour the very same citizens it is meant to save. Yet the current Public Health Act doesn't place citizens at the center of health governance. It does not institutionalize citizen participation in planning, budgeting, monitoring, or evaluation. It does not recognize the role of CSOs in accountability, nor does it provide for mechanisms such as community scorecards, public hearings, or citizen feedback systems. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Act is also weak on health financing. It does not provide for reinvest allocations to health, nor does it establish sustainable financing mechanisms such as National Health Fund. Malawi remains the only third country providing services entirely free of charge, yet without a financing framework, this model is unsustainable. And there are climate-induced disasters such as floods, droughts, and cyclones with direct impacts on public health, which ought to have been guarded by this law. Yet, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Act does not provide for climate-resilient health systems, disaster preparedness, or coordination between health, environment, agriculture, and disaster management institutions. In short, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Public Health Act of 1948 is a relic. It is inconsistent with our Constitution, incompatible with international obligations, and inadequate for modern health challenges. It does not reflect the principles of equity, transparency, accountability, or citizen participation. Reform is not a matter of choice, it is a matter of urgency. Inquiry into state of corruption in health facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, on December 16, 2025, Kumbukani Stafford, a small-scale farmer from Palombe, stepped into chaos of corrupt practices in health facilities. Beside him was Eunice, a young woman whose body had become a map of medical failure. Her journey had been a long, agonizing odyssey, a 2017 surgery in Zomba that left her with a mysterious, painful swelling, followed by fruitless visits to John Chirembe Hospital and expensive private clinics. Finally, they had a referral letter to Queen's Elizabeth Central Hospital, the golden ticket to a specialist care. They arrived at the Queen's at 8 a.m. 24 hours later, they were still sitting on the same hard plastic chairs. We were bounced like a ball, Stanford recalls, her voice trembling with the memory of his niece whimpering. Room 1, then the burns department, then back to the reception. They told us our name was not in the system, but we were standing right there. We were human beings, not data points. As Stanford watched, the pattern became clear. Patients who arrived hours after them were being greeted with nods of recognition and ushered behind the heavy doors of the consultation rooms at Queen's Elizabeth Central Hospital. The system wasn't broken, it was monetized. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is according to the Platform for Investigative Journalism. It is sad that corruption has been institutionalized in health facilities, forcing patients to pay for services that are meant to be free. The revelation by the Consortium of Journalists earlier this year motivated your committee during this quarter to conduct inquiry sessions with hospitals, regulators, and oversight bodies to assess the state of corruption and governance in health facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, at Nzuzu Central Hospital, we heard of cartels involving clerics, maids, and guards exposed through CCTV surveillance, implicated in the theft of medicines worth millions of kwachas. Whistleblowers feared retaliation, while patients themselves sometimes promoted corruption by paying to skip queues. At Likoma District Hospital, the form of corruption is different. More than half of patients accessing services there are foreigners, particularly from Mozambique. This strains health budgets and highlighted the need for national ID systems to ensure accountability. Mr. Speaker, sir, authorities from Chiradzulo and Cholo district hospitals were not aware of the corrupt practices in their institutions until the media exposed. This points to the weak internal oversight mechanisms and hospital ombudsman offices being ineffective. As a result, patients were denied care, guardians extorted in maternity services, and medicines diverted. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Anti-Corruption Bureau informed the committee that corruption in health facilities is both a governance issue and a public health emergency. Up to 35% of essential medicines are lost between central medical stores and facilities. Syndicates have emerged demanding bribes for access to free services. recruitment processes have been compromised by nepotism, bribery, and undermining service delivery. Mr. Speaker, sir, Medical Council of Malawi reported a case of illegal charging, abuse of private practice, and issuance of fake medical reports. The Nurses and Midwives Council highlighted negligence and misconduct with penalties ranging from warnings to deregistration. The Pharmacy and Medicines Regulatory Authority, PMRA, presented major drug theft cases, including the evasions of insulin, and emphasized challenges in enforcing regulations due to resource constraints and delayed court outcomes. Mr. Speaker, these inquiries revealed a system under strain. Corruption, malpractice, and weak oversight are eroding public trust, undermining patient care, and diverting scarce resources. Mr. Speaker, sir, your committee suggests or proposes two urgent priorities: the modernization of Malawi's public health legislation and the strengthening of governance in health facilities. On law reform, the committee observed that the Public Health Act of 1995 is outdated and inconsistent with the Constitution and international obligations. Civil society organizations, the Law Commission, and the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs all emphasize the need for a modernized framework that protects the right to health, strengthens emergency preparedness, and regulates digital health, and institutionalizes citizen participation. On the inquiry into state of corruption in health facilities, the committee uncovered entrenched malpractice in hospitals, systematic drug theft, compromised recruitment, and weak grievance redress mechanisms. The Anti-Corruption Bureau, regulatory bodies, and investigative media provided evidence of corruption networks and enforcement gaps that undermine service delivery and erode public trust. Your committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, will in the few coming weeks conduct special inquiry into theft of drugs in health facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recommendations by your committee provide for oversight measures to ensure that when Parliament is seized with these matters, the process is coherent, inclusive, and aligned with the Constitution and international obligation. This is why we think that by adopting this report, Parliament will strengthen institutional integrity, modernize Malawi's public health legislation, and restore confidence in the health system. With these remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the report be considered and adopted by this august House. I beg to move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honourable members, order. Order. Honourable members, who is seconding the report? Mwanza West. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the report as ably presented on the Health Committee's activities undertaken in the first quarter of 2026 and 2027 financial year. Mr. Speaker, while the chairperson has outlined the findings in detail, allow me to underscore the broader implications of this report. What we have seen in our engagements is not simply outdated legislation or isolated malpractice. It is a healthy system that requires urgent strengthening of trust, accountability, and resilience. Mr. Speaker, the committee's work revealed that patients and communities are losing confidence in the system. Medicines are diverted before reaching those in need. Guardians are forced to pay bribes for services that should be free. and complaints often go unresolved. This is not only a governance failure, it is a direct assault on the dignity and rights of Malawians. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recommendations in this report are designed to restore that trust. They call for independent hospital ombudsman posts to ensure that patient complaints are heard and acted upon, digital tracking of medicines, and modernized central medical stores trust infrastructure to close the loopholes that fuel drug diversions, custodial sentences, and lifestyle audits to deter corruption and expose unexplained wealth, merit-based recruitment, and professional discipline to ensure that our health workforce is deployed fairly and held accountable, and civil society oversight through quarterly reports and shadow monitoring so that communities themselves remain watchdogs of the system. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recommendations provide us with a framework to measure progress, hold institutions accountable, and ensure that reforms are not left on paper but implemented in practice. Mr. Speaker, by adopting this report, Parliament will send a strong signal that corruption in health facilities will not be tolerated, the patient's lives will be protected, and that Malawi's health system will be modernized to meet the needs of today and tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, with these few remarks, I beg to second the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mwanza West. Let's have takers. I see Salima Central. Salima Central West. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I just want to commend the chairperson for Health Committee and his committee, and indeed even you, leadership, because this is your committee, for this elaborate report. The report is very important. I think the elements of this report need to be taken seriously, not only by one side, but I think for all of us as Malawians. What has touched me so much in this report, Honorable Speaker, is an element of violation of clients' and patients' rights. That's not all, but you could see that why there is that violation is that there is a scramble for the best services. Everybody wants to be attended earlier than the other, and they want to be attended from a facility that provides the better services and attended by somebody who is well trained. I want to commend the ministry's intentions that they want to upgrade some of the service delivery points to facilities that can contain a lot of ailments. I think that's the way to go. And the other thing, Honorable Speaker, that I would also want to comment is the issue of a place or a person who receives complaints from patients and clients in our hospitals. Currently, I think we are using the ombudsman, and the arrangement with this office is temporal because it's just picked among those that are available and among a person who is already busy with other things. Can government probably look at establishing a permanent post for this ombudsman so that it's as independent as any other, so that if he's busy with other things, it should not be the way it is the current status. Should only be attending to issues that can be processed. Otherwise, there are issues that are dropping into the ombudsman office because of the backlog. Not everything is being attended. I thought Salima Central West constituency should make these few contributions, and I support the report, Honorable Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Salima Central East. Let's go to Mzimba Perekezi. Mzimba Perekezi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving the people of Mzimba Perekezi an opportunity to support the adoption of the report of the committee, ably represented by the chair. Mr. Speaker, sir, I commend the committee for producing a comprehensive report that addresses some of the most pressing challenges facing our health sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the report's greatest strengths is call for modernization of the outdated Public Health Act of 1948. The proposed reform will strengthen disease surveillance, improve emergency preparedness, protect patients' rights, and align our health laws with the Constitution and current public health realities. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also commend the committee for exposing corruption in our health facilities, bribery, drug theft, and unofficial payment deny ordinary Malawians the health care they deserve. Mr. Speaker, sir, every stolen medicine, every illegal payment puts the lives of our people at risk. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore support the recommendation to strengthen accountability, protect whistleblower, and empower hospital ombudsmen to restore public confidence in our health system. Mr. Speaker, sir, as donor support continues to decline, the report later calls for sustainable domestic financing while ensuring that vulnerable citizens continue to quality health services. Mr. Speaker, sir, our people deserve public health facilities with medicine, motivated health workers, and transparent systems free from corruption. This report provides a practical roadmap towards achieving that goal. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore wholeheartedly support for the adoption of this report. I so submit, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Rumpi West, what's going out of order?
Right Honorable Speaker, sir, today being Private Members' Day, I stand that we extend time of the exhaustion of the required time so that we still more finish with the final report as you mentioned the Natural Resources Committee's report. I beg to move.
Honourable members, there's a motion that we extend time to deal with the Committee on Health and Natural Resources. Is that the motion you're asking? Or you want us just to finish the health one?
Right Honorable Speaker, after finishing the health one, we have to conclude with the natural resources. That's the motion number 2.
Honourable members, I put the question that we extend time as guided by Nzim Rumpi West. Those of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary view say no. The ayes have it and the motion is carried. Why are you rising, honourable members? Honourable members, before I grant division, Maybe I should retake the motion. Honourable members, it is 5 o'clock. We have a motion to extend time that we deal with committee reports. Those of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary view say no. The noes have it and the motion is defeated. All right, members, why are you standing? Division? Not granted. Leader, guide us for tomorrow. Maybe I don't know if you allow the chair to wind up debate, so we just refer. We're almost done with the health report.
So you want us to conclude first?
We were just remaining with the chair winding up, and then we refer it to the committee.
No,
I mean the House agrees to it.
Yeah, I think that's fine, isn't it? We just conclude the last report and then we call it a day. So once we're done, then I will communicate business for tomorrow.
Honorable Chair of Health, please wind up debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Through you, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to thank the honorable members who have made contributions to the report, but I would also like to thank the committee members for the coordination during the activities that we had during the last quarter. In a special way, I would like to thank the Minister of Health for the working relationship that we have built. We understand that now we have National Health Fund, which has been approved. We are also hearing that the Public Health Act is under review, such that during the next sitting of Parliament, we would have the Public Health Act presented in the House and perhaps getting it passed. We are also hearing that the regulations from Pharmacy and Medicine Regulatory Authority are almost done. For this reason, Mr. Speaker, sir, that through you, I would like to thank the whole House for supporting the committee. With these few remarks, I would like to beg that the House adopt the committee. I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman, for the Committee on Health. Honorable members, I now put the question that the House do agree to the report presented by the Health Committee. Those of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary view say no. The ayes have it and the motion is carried. Leader, first let me thank you, Leader, for accepting that we dispose of that issue. We only had about 2 minutes, and please guide us for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. First is to thank you for guiding the House extremely well today, as you have always done. So we say thank you. I also would like to thank all members. Attendance has improved. And this is very exciting. If we continue like this, surely Malawians out there will be celebrating. Let's keep up this attendance. Tomorrow, we will tackle questions that will appear on the order paper, and if we've got time, we'll tackle some reports, depending on the time available. I know the clerk is already, looking at me, this man is bringing irregular business now, but we are trying to offload some of the business that is on the order paper. When we are coming next November, I want us to be as little business as we can, so that we prioritize new business. So when we do things in an irregular manner, it is for that purpose. Where need be, we will be asking for a supplementary order paper to accommodate business that we think should be disposed of. So that's how we'll proceed tomorrow, time permitting. I submit, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you very much, Leader. Indeed, attendance has improved, and I know we can do better. Thank you so much. Honourable members, it is 17:06. Therefore, I adjourn the House to tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. House adjourned.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.